So, folks, we are joined by Megha Bajaj. She's an acclaimed author and mentor with a passion for nurturing young minds. She's known for her impactful books like Thank You Cancer and The Breakthrough. Megha has inspired thousands through her writing workshops and speaking engagements. Her work focuses on life skills, language, and leadership, aiming to empower the next generation to live their best lives. And as we prepare to delve into our conversation on an interesting topic at hand, empowering young minds, a journey of words, life skills, and inner growth, here's an exciting twist as always. Let us tickle our guest brain. So, Megha, before I formally welcome you to the show, I would like to tickle your brain. So, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. If you're ready, let's get started.
Absolutely ready, Naveen.
All right. So, here comes the first word, curiosity.
My 8-month-old daughter.
Failure.
Absolute must.
Future.
Awesome. Very bright.
Book other than your books.
Unposted letters.
Unposted letters. And then wisdom.
Mahatrya.
Universe.
Kind and benevolent.
Mentor.
Mahatrya.
Inspiration.
Mahatrya.
Don't say again. Okay. Writing.
Chai.
Wow. And here comes the last one. Aliens.
Green. Jadoo. Hrithik Roshan.
Loved it. And thank you for participating in the first rapid fire round so sportively. And there is one more rapid fire round towards the end of the episode. And before I formally welcome you to the show, let me welcome the audience. So, folks, you have tuned into TGV and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series where we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. And we wanted to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. And Megha, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice. I've gone through your profile and it's quite impressive. And the kind of achievements that you have already accomplished, right? So that is so intriguing. And I'm super thrilled to host you today. How are you doing?
Doing great, Naveen. And I think the love and admiration is absolutely reciprocated because for someone to have done the kind of podcast and the number of podcasts you've done, it's amazing the kind of guests you hosted, the way you speak. So I'm pretty excited about this. And you have a lot of fans in my team, and they're like, oh, we have to do something with him. He does some amazing podcasts. So here I am and pretty excited about the afternoon.
Same here. And let's get the ball rolling. So, Megha, talk to us about your success mantra, as in the top 3 things that have contributed to your success so far.
I would say it's confidence, compassion, and creativity. So confidence, of course, so since I'm a poet and a writer, I tend to speak in these, CCCs, and you'll see a lot of alliterations coming along the way. So I think the reason for this is really that I think whatever you do in life, like just to get up and get going itself takes confidence. I mean, and to become successful, you need to overcome so many steps. You need to tell yourself hundreds of times that you're okay, even if the world doesn't feel so. You have to kick yourself in the butt at times. You have to do all sorts of things. And I think without confidence, I don't think it would really work. The second, of course, I chose is compassion. The reason for that is I think it's a universal spiritual law that when you help others become successful, you become a success as a byproduct, So anyone, I was watching the Mark Zuckerberg interview, and all he wanted to actually do was connect with his friends or connect people together.
Yeah.
That ended up becoming something so huge is actually just a byproduct. So for me, through WOW, what I want to do is help every person to find a better version of themselves. And while I'm doing that, I keep finding a better version of me. So I think the success is a byproduct of the compassion that you have for the world. And third, of course, is creativity. I think, Naveen, you know it. All of us know it, that unless you're creative, unless you can keep thinking on your feet, doing things differently, you are going to become obsolete. And like you said, simplify and amplify, right? Now, For that, you need to be constantly creating. You need to be very creative. You need to be out of the box. So I would go with these 3 C's as my mantra for success.
I love it. And since you mentioned about this simplify and amplify, I would like to acknowledge the fact that we have changed our tagline and statement very recently. And one of our guests, Rachna Singh from Pune, actually, she has come up with that particular thing, having gone through my podcast journey and all. She said, I mean, this has to be something really catchy and let me come up with it. So kudos to Rachna. Thank you for getting that done. And on that note, Megha, let's move to my next question. So, what are some of the toughest lessons that you have learned in your entrepreneurship slash edupreneurship journey?
I think the toughest lesson I've learned is that people may not always be what they seem to be. So I'm a very straightforward person, and like there's literally no filter between year and
Yeah.
your action. So and I really try to keep myself integrated because it gives me a lot of peace of mind. And I love it. Like so I said Mahatma quite often. Mahatma happens to be my spiritual guru. And he always says this beautiful thing that lies need maintenance. Truth needs no maintenance. So I kind of want to live my life out of that integrity. But you meet a few people, and I've met a few people along the way where, I mean, luckily, I think 95% have been beyond beautiful and everything that I want them to be. But there's always that 5% people, which I've found the toughest part of my learning or journey, where you think that someone is so amazing and you place all your trust in them, and suddenly they go back and, they stun you. And I always find that very heartbreaking. And to be honest, you know, I'm still not, I wouldn't say I've crossed this and I'm like, oh, an ace at managing this. I still go through sleepless nights or heartbreaks when someone doesn't turn up to be what I wanted them to be. So I think that's been my greatest challenge.
Mhm. No, I get it. At times, we tend to fail in terms of assessing the people, but again, humans are humans, and we will find some of the outliers here and there. And I truly resonate with your statement: lies need maintenance, and truth doesn't, because you have to make sure that it doesn't lie doesn't come out right. And whereas truth, if you are true and genuine, you don't have to worry about it, no matter what happens. Absolutely great statement. All right. So your background is a little different. Like you grew up in a large and opinionated joint family. And how did that particular bringing up influence your perspectives on life and relationships?
I think the biggest thing was I had more mothers than I could count on my finger. So there was a buddy mummy, there was a choti mummy, dadi was also some dadi mummy, and there was mummy, who's my own mother. So there were a lot of mothers, and they would all take it as their personal right to bring the children up. So so I think it was very beautiful to know that you have so many people to love you and so many people to also argue with, and so much. I think the biggest thing it taught me is oneness. Because, I mean, suddenly I would be sitting and I would see that my sister's wearing my favorite jeans and walking off. And I'm like, यार ये तो मेरा jeans है. She's like, हाँ पर मुझ पे ज्यादा अच्छा लगता है ना, happily she'll walk off. And I was like, okay, thanks a lot. My brother would be reading my private diary. Like there was no space or scope for any privacy or individuality as such. So I think that really introduced me to oneness, because I realized, यार जैसे इंडिया में ट्रेन का डब्बा होता है, and especially if you've traveled to Bombay, you want to scratch your thigh, but you'll end up scratching someone else's thigh. So this type ka is what I have gone through, like growing up, right? Literally. And I think that taught me to love and to share and to not be very judgmental about people, because everyone comes with their good and bad. And like Forrest Gump said, right? Life is like a chocolate box and you never know which one. I think people are like chocolate boxes. You don't know which one you're going to find where, but ultimately they all add to the taste of life. So I think that's been my journey of growing up in a joint family.
Superb. I love the metaphor of scratching your thigh, scratching somebody else's thigh in the Mumbai train. Right, I've been through Mumbai recently, and that was a second visit, but I experienced a Mumbai train for the very first time, and I could resonate with you. And yeah, great thoughts over there. And in fact, bringing up or raising in a joint family, you would be very well versed with relationships, and you'll not find it difficult in terms of adjusting to different personalities, right? That is my observation as well, right?
Yeah. And I would like to believe so. You would have to ask the people around me, especially my husband. So,
and 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 Mega, moving forward, right? So your book, this Thank You Cancer, gained significant media attention. So what motivated you to write about such a personal and challenging topic, and that too at such a young age?
so Naveen, my mother was diagnosed with cancer when I was all of 22, 23, and never heard of this word except for in movies. So suddenly to see someone that close who was literally your lifeline being diagnosed was too intense an experience. And I didn't know where to let it all out. I didn't know what to do with
Hmm.
all that I was going through in terms of the pain. And I think once she recovered, even seeing that how she used cancer to kind of bounce back into life and live, I would say, an even more meaningful life.
Yeah.
So that's why the topic, thank you, cancer, to just say that, hey, everything may not be an end. Sometimes it's just a bend and you have to kind of find your way around it, and you end up going where you want to. So I think it was more of a daughter's venting and catharsis and reflections in the book. But I think those are the kind of books that actually do the best, because the other people resonate with your feelings, and I think that's what kind of happens. So yeah, I did go on to do really well, and it was a very personal and a very cathartic experience to write that book.
Got it. Again, you are playing with your words in terms of everything, not an end, but a bend. I love it, and I'm enjoying this conversation thoroughly. And let's move to my next one. So, you focus on life skills alongside the traditional education, right? So, what inspired you to do that? And why do you believe these life skills are crucial for young minds today?
I think, Naveen, much of what I do with my life is a absolute mirror of what I have gone through in my own life. So I hail from one of the best schools in Bombay, and I have the utmost gratitude for it to shape me today. If I can talk the way I do, it's only because of my school. If I think the way I do, it's because of my school. Yet, having said that, I think when I came into real life, some things I realized were just not taught, like, say, relationships, okay, or dealing with failure, or money. I mean, considering money is something so important for all of us, why is it not a subject from fifth standard? We are taught math, we are not taught money. So I realized that life skills and what was taught in schools was still not hand in hand, and
Yeah.
that gap. I was like, why do I sit and complain or whatever? Let me just go and do something about it. So I started in a very small way with just about few thousand children, in one school. And word of mouth, it kind of grew. Today, we have more than 1.5 lakh children who we've impacted through these life skill programs. But
Mm.
I think it's an absolute must, because not all of us know how to deal with a lot of things that life throws at us. I think the guiding voice, I mean, you would be doing this only to tell people, hey, there's a better way. So I think all I want to tell all the youngsters out there is, hey, there's a better way. And someone's there to hold you through it. And I've been there, done that. So I think that's what I'm trying to do through this Wow 3Ls program, which is language, life, and
Mm.
leadership skills.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And kudos to you on reaching 1.4 lakhs. That is not easy. And I wish you and your team more power to impact more and more
Thank you.
people, not just in India, but across the globe, and continue the great work. And Mega, now let's talk about your personal challenges, like your fluctuating academic performance and your unconventional learning style. How did they shape your approach to mentoring others?
In a classroom, Naveen, typically, if you look at it, they're the toppers.
Yeah.
They're those very popular kids who are rich and good looking. They're backbenchers. And there's this whole lot of people who are just somewhere in the middle, like not this, not that, but they are a whole number. Okay. I mean, that was the way my class was divided. I don't know if you resonate with it, but it was something like this. And I think I was more like the last bencher most of the time. And it I used to be happy and like quite popular with the school, with the class, but teachers hated me. I mean, in fact, I remember in one parent teacher meeting, like one teacher told every parent that don't let Megha sit next to your child. She'll end up doing well, but your child will suffer. So, those kind of things. So I think what it taught me, and today, so many years later, when I look at my own class where we
Right.
have a WhatsApp group, the class topper is actually a homemaker.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last benchers are actually entrepreneurs, a lot of them. Okay. Those middle ones are like somewhere in between, doing this, doing that. The popular rich ones, there's so many ways that, there are different things that they're doing. So I think one thing I realize is that how you do in school in no way determines how you're going to do at life. Okay. And the way you're smiling, you also seem like my category. I don't know if you work.
No, I'll talk about it in a while. Like I have my own share of experiences. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, so for me, it was like, I think the main thing is you just cannot define and confine a child basis their grades. And honestly, no one's ever asked me my marks again, yaar. 10th mein jo ho gaya. Aaj tak my husband didn't check my marks and marry me. When I go for a doctor's visit, they don't ask for my marks. Any job I've taken up, I don't think anyone's asked me, my marks. So my thing is, why are we stressing so much on academics and marks? And so I think me being one of those outlandish students has helped me be what I am, very non-defined, very daring in my approach towards entrepreneurship, and I'm used to ridicule and failures and everything, so I'm not scared of any of it.
Right.
So that's my take on it.
Yeah. And I resonate with you, except for one point. Like I was the first bencher, kind of top 5. Most of the times I used to secure second rank or something. And me and one of my best friends, he is also first ranker. So we are in top position, like in terms of, not in terms of earning, but at the life stage where we are. Whereas the so-called backbenchers and all, and few of them have become businessmen, and they earn something to the tune of what we make a month. They earn it in a single day, right? Likewise, there are many millionaires there.
That's fair enough. You do what you want to do, right?
Exactly. But yeah, great. I could resonate with a lot of those thoughts. All right. So we'll move to the next one.
But honestly, you look like that naughty type that you were the first benchers.
I'll tell you something. Like I was an introvert until my 10th standard, and actually I got transformed during my engineering days. Okay, after I have undergone the ragging and all those days, right? So that's why there is a gradual, and not gradual, but drastic personality shift. Okay, that's why I'm completely different from what I used to be in the 10th class until my 10th grade and all. And because one of the other reasons was I used to be the shortest kid in the class. Okay, so those are the two reasons. One, because I was the shortest, I was made to sit in first bench, and second, because I was one of the toppers. Those are the two reasons. But there is a drastic personality shift. I think we have to talk about it in any of the future episodes. But let's move forward. Okay, so as a meditator and follower of Mahapriyara, right? How do you integrate your spiritual practices into your professional life?
I think in every single way, Naveen. In fact, I just put up a status on my WhatsApp, and I realized that spirituality is kind of like that sugar in the milk, where you cannot separate it out of a personality or even meditation. Once you become a meditator, and for me, I've been meditating regularly for more than 25 years. Right. So I think it becomes your way of living. It's not something that you do on a yoga mat for half an hour. It's what you live, it's what you breathe. So it's all humor and all this. Like, I was a very serious kid. Like, I wasn't always like, aisa, whatever. But now, I think the natural thing is like to flow with the flow, to enjoy life, whatever comes your way, that kind of thing. I think one incident I want to share about my entrepreneur journey and how spirituality helped me a lot. So this book I wrote, Naveen, called The Breakthrough. And it's about 11 people who are from different parts of the city, countries. So since you're from Hyderabad, you may have heard of Ratnadeep, right? The grocery stores. So owner of Ratnadeep, Sandeep, has also been featured in this. So it's a story of 11 people who kind of had a series of breakthroughs and reached where they had to reach in life. So we were ready with this book sometime in, March 2020, and that's when the entire COVID broke through. And we wanted to have a book launch. Now, how do you have a book launch when, everyone's in different cities and you're not allowed? And it was a time where people really needed the book the most.
Yeah.
So we're wondering what to do, how to go about it, stuff like that. Suddenly, we had this idea that let's have a virtual book launch. And now that such amazing people are there, let's have the world's biggest book launch. Okay?
Yeah.
Virtual book launch. So we're like, kitna hoga? How many people would have come? Some few thousand. Suddenly, our publisher tells us, "Arey, one chief minister released his book and 1 lakh people came online."
Wow.
So you have to cross 1 lakh. I said, yeah, even if you call your friends, you won't reach 1 lakh, right? Even
Right.
among 11 people.
Yeah.
So we were like, what do we do? But I think one thing we really did was process excellence. And all 11 of us went out there. I went out there. We did some amazing stuff. We got Book My Show on board, which typically doesn't do book launches. We did
Right.
all that. And 15th August 2020 was our book launch, okay? And we had sold ourselves as world's biggest book launch, coming world's biggest. So like I'd go for a walk, for my dog during COVID, that was the only thing allowed. And someone would be like, oh, you're having the world's biggest book launch. And I'm like, yeah. And we saw that by 14th midnight, the registrations were at 24,000. Okay. So on the Book My Show portal. So that's pretty good, but nowhere close to 1 lakh, 1 to cross that, right? So I was like, oh God, now what do we do? So my Guru Mahatria, I mean, for me, he's my source of faith and I have a lot of surrender to him. So I literally remember Naveen typing this mail on midnight, 14th August 2020. I was like, you know what, Mahatria, I've done my best, comma. Now you please do the rest. That's it. Okay. And I think it was such a moment of surrender. I think that was the first night in months of like doing everything that I even slept. Woke up on 15th August, had the book launch, didn't know anything till then. 2 days later, the numbers came in. Can you guess how many people we had for the book launch?
200,000.
3,87,500. And from where have these people come? How did that 24,000 become 3,87,500? I still don't know, Naveen. I have no logical explanation to it. But those many unique people logged in and watched the whole thing. So I think that made me realize the power of this. Like, you do your best, and comma, it's literally like you go down and surrender to something beyond you, and you say, now please you do the rest. And I think it works. So that is how I've been using spirituality in my entrepreneur journey. I do what I can, and then I also let go and say, now you please take over. So
Fabulous. And normally, Megha, I don't get into these kind of conversations with any expectations. But sometimes guests like you enthrall me. So you are one of those guests like who have shared your wisdom such an amazing way, and I could resonate with a lot of thoughts. And I love your humility and all that particular attitude. And after this incredible conversation, it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement to the episode. So if you're ready, let's kick off the second rapid fire round.
Sure.
All right. So here comes the first bullet. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
I think it would say, if love cannot, nothing can, and love can. And I think I would have this gigantic billboard everywhere across the world, because I think we've limited love to relationships or just a very sweetie emotion,
Right.
but it's such a powerful, potent force. So that would be my billboard.
Superb. And if you had to sum up your life philosophy in just one sentence, what would it be?
I think what I just said. You do your best, comma, and God will do the rest. If you do not do your best, comma, then God too will take rest. I think that's my life's philosophy. So, there are too many people who are like, oh yeah, God will take care. But tum pehle apna, you move your ass, then God will move his.
Love it. And describe yourself in just one word.
Beautiful. And I don't mean, this. I mean, just the inside stuff and the way I think I'm growing. I love myself and I have no qualms to admit it.
Superb. And can you share a quote that inspires you every day?
I think it's this short poetry by Hafiz, which says, even after all this time, The sun never said to the earth, "Look how much I've done for you." See what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole sky. I think I just love that. I think it's what I wake up to and feel like, yeah, if the sun can do all this, हमको थोड़ा और करना चाहिए.
Superb. Mind blowing, actually. This is the first time I'm coming across that quote, but it means a lot. I can see that deep meaning inside. All right, so let's move to the next one. So, what is one non negotiable part of your daily routine?
Meditation. It is.
Okay, got it. And then, last one for rapid fire. Just complete this sentence 3 times. Never have I ever.
Never have I ever smoked. I don't know why, but I haven't, not even in school or college days. Never have I ever used Tinder. I'm not on it, and I don't think I'll ever be on it as well. So, no more fun thing. And never have I ever ridden an aeroplane, in the sense like driven an aeroplane. And I wish at some point, I really wish I can do that, but I haven't yet.
Good luck on that. And after that creative second rapid fire round, let's be back to the mainstream. So, Megha, what advice would you give to young people trying to balance their inner growth with external achievements?
I really think the more you grow within, your external growth kind of takes care of itself. It's like a spring. The harder it's pressed, it's going to bounce harder, right? So my whole thing is that I'm concerned about all the youngsters who only think that by looking good, talking well, by feeling very smart or having the right contacts, they think they can win the world. I think even if you rise, you're bound to fall because you don't have that inner stuff or that inner foundation to hold your success. So I would say that both are absolutely important, but to me personally, the inner is even more important, because when that's right, the default is that the outside will become right. So when you look in the mirror, you're going to only see yourself, right? You're not going to see something else. So yeah, I would just tell everyone, please focus a lot on your inner growth. Baki apne aap hoga. It will happen.
It will happen. All right, so powerful thoughts over there, and I didn't even notice that already 30 minutes has passed by. So that's how powerful and engaging our conversation was, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. And how is your experience being hosted on the Guiding Voice podcast?
I think I quite admire the way you talk and the way you modulate your voice, and the way, it's more like being on a radio than being on a podcast. Honestly, you've got all the right vibes for being a very popular RJ. And I think I love the questions. I loved how beautifully you've, made fun. I think I've done a lot of interviews which are fun, and I've done a lot of interviews that are very meaningful. And you've kind of joined both of them, right. Fun and depth, which to me is awesome. It's actually the guiding voice. So it's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. And I really look forward to hosting you again on the show, and wish you all the best to all the WOW team members. And as I said earlier, wish you more power, guys. And thank you once again, Megha, for taking time out of your busy schedule and making it to our show. And looking forward to many more.
Absolute pleasure.
All right. So, friends, that was our episode with Megha Bajaj. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request. In case if you haven't already subscribed to TGV, please subscribe to us from wherever you have tuned in, because subscribing keeps you updated on new episodes. And also, if you enjoyed the conversation and found it useful, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, the Guiding Voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you are growing. Now it's time for us to get into the trivia segment. One fact which I did not mention is Megha is already a TEDx speaker. And why did I mention about it now? Because I want to present you some fact related to TED Talks as a trivia. So here are the 3 lesser known and interesting facts about TED Talks. First and foremost is the TED Talks originated as a technology conference. And TED stands for Technology, Entertainment and Design. And it was started in 1984 as a conference bringing together people from those 3 fields. And the first TED conference featured a demonstration of the compact disc, the CD, the ebook, and cutting-edge 3D graphics from Lucasfilm. And despite its now expansive range of topics, TED's origins are deeply rooted in showcasing breakthrough technology and design. And one thing I would like to mention here, you might have noticed many people putting that they are TEDx speaker once or twice or three times, right? So one of my goals is whoever is getting featured on TGV should also put three times TGV or one time TGV, and that is going to happen. All right. So I'm sure universe is going to conspire to make that happen for the kind of efforts that we are putting in. And with that, let's move to the next one, which is the 18-minute rule. The TED Talks are famously limited to 18 minutes or less. And this rule is not arbitrary. It is based on both neuroscience as well as strategy, because the format keeps the talks concise, brief, and compelling, holding the audience attention more effectively than longer presentations. And studies also suggest that attention span, right, tends to wane after about 10 to 18 minutes, making this length optimal for information retention and impact. But one of my strong gut feels is this 18-minute might come down to 9 minutes or maybe less than that in future, given that the attention span of people is coming down because we are in the age of infodemic, and also because of lots of media that is actually grabbing our attention, and attention span of people is coming down. And third is about the Open Translation Project. TED relies heavily on volunteers for its translation efforts, and the TED Open Translation Project started in 2009 and now involves over 30,000 volunteer translators from around the world. And these volunteers translate TED Talks into more than 115 languages, greatly expanding the accessibility and global reach of the ideas shared on the platform. So that's it from my side, from the trivia perspective. Likewise, if you are aware of any of the trivia related to TED Talks or TEDx, do let me know. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there, or if you have found this episode on audio platform or some social media platform, you can comment on the social media platform as well. And folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. We'd love to hear from you. So do not hesitate to share your ideas and feedback either through our social media, or you can also email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. 4 as in digit 4 and you as in letter U. And let's create content that resonates with you. I'm your host Navin Samala, a lifelong learner. And my goal is to have impactful conversations that simplify and amplify your life success. Until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the future holds great things because the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you on the next episode with another amazing guest. Bye bye.